Sri Lanka also took a very difficult decision. It was a much needed decision, but it was a difficult decision to restructure its debt. And I think this is another important thing to recognize, because if Sri Lanka had not done that, the adjustment that people of Sri Lanka would have had to bear would have been even greater. And so going through this process of debt restructuring, they were able to provide some more relief for the people. So I want to say this here, which is that the experience of Sri Lanka has actually provided very important lessons for the world. This involved several challenges. First, it was critical to make sure that the targets that were being set through the restructuring was enough to provide sufficient debt relief. And this is far from trivial. It's not easy to make sure that the targets provide the right amount of relief, while at the same time making sure that Sri Lanka can come back to market access in the future. So in doing this, you had to take into account, one, the severity of the crisis, which called also for a lot of relief, but on the other hand, also recognizing that Sri Lanka has a lot of sources of strength that come from strong domestic private savings, tourism receipts, remittances. So that balance had to be met, and the targets were tailored to those. Second was facilitating collaboration in a complex external creditor landscape. There was a full range of official creditors that needed to be coordinated, and I have to admit that many of these creditors did not have internal processes that were ready to deal with restructuring. The official creditor committee that involved France, India, and Japan played a very important role in bringing creditors together. And lastly, whenever you do a debt restructuring, and especially if it involves domestic debt, which is something that was recognized very early on, that external debt restructuring would not be enough, domestic debt would also need to be restructured. It had to be done very carefully to make sure that you didn't damage financial stability and social stability. So this was done with a lot of attention to detail, recognizing that there was a significant exposure of the domestic financial sector to these sovereign bonds. So again, this is something that could not have been taken for granted, but actually played out very well. So this experience of Sri Lanka, I think you should take this as one of your accomplishments, is that because of the experience of Sri Lanka, we feel that future countries that come for debt restructuring will have an easier experience than what Sri Lanka went through, which was a really complex process. We have a much better sense of how to do the targeting of debt, restructuring, picking the targets. New instruments, including state contingent instruments, were introduced. We have a better sense of assessing how to do that, and also in terms of improving coordination, and also in improving IMF's own debt policies. So again, on the global debt restructuring space, I think Sri Lanka's experience will be an important chapter for all of us to read and understand and to learn from, because this is going to help any future country that needs restructuring coming ahead.